Well, thank y'all for being here. We really appreciate it. The end of every fiscal year, we try to be as efficient as possible and just streamline things as much as possible so everyone has a good experience closing out the fiscal year. And we sent out the guidelines for everybody to have a chance to review. So Carolyn's going to just kind of go over these step by step. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to just jump in and let us know. So this is real casual, real informal conversation. So you're not going to be interrupting. Just jump in if you have any questions as we go along. So Carolyn, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Now, the first one we have on there is about July, that you'll receive a balance sheet. But actually, I sent that out slightly ahead of time this time and did that in June. But I'm more than happy to send anybody an updated balance sheet, again, so you can see those that maybe have not, spent their funds or have some left, just, to be able to remind them if possible. So, I'll happily send those, all out again as well. And then we have on here about the August 1st is the deadline for new referrals. And for those of you that are newer to the program this year, the reason for that really is because we found that when people were going on the program, later in the fiscal year and we were sending timesheets out, they were just not getting them back, or we would get them back, very late, and we're not able to process them after the end of September. However, we do appreciate that you may have some exceptions, and we know a number of the AAAs have, been given some extra funds, and you might need to spend those funds. I know some of you are completely out of funds, so it's different for everyone. But if you have exceptions or anything like that, please just get in touch. And, if we're able to help, we will. Obviously, we'll let you know if we, can't do that. But, mostly that is a guideline just so that it's not confusing for caregivers. Anybody that you do want to award funds for after the 1st of August that are going to be in a rollover year. So some of you do a closeout in September, like our program does, but some of you roll over into the following year. So any of those rollover ones, when you send the new referrals next year, sorry, I'm slightly jumping ahead, but when you send a new referral next year, you can backdate. So for example, if you award somebody the funds at the end of August, when you send me that new referral in October, you can do a backdated date to the end of August. So they can still know that they have those respite funds. It's just that we're not going to be processing that or sending the paperwork until October. Tracy deals with all the contracts, but the deadline for submitting the new contracts for the fiscal year is the 31st of August. Did you need to add anything to that, Tracy, about the contract?
No, the only thing is if in your scope of service, if there is something that is new that you want to add to that, I would encourage you to talk to your contracts people in your agency to see if you can add that language. What we do with that scope of service in the contract is we have a binder and we have a scope of service pulled for every single AAA, and we highlight what you do and what you don't allow with your funding. And it's different for all 13. Some allow DSP, some don't. Some allow lawn care and housekeeping, some don't. So that's what we use as our guideline. So if we receive a timesheet and it's for something that is outside of the scope of service, or even if that's a dollar amount, if the dollar amount is $50 an hour, if it's in the scope of service and your scope of services, we don't pay more than $25, don't reimburse for more than $25 an hour, then we just have that scope of service to go by and we know that's something, that you aren't going to reimburse. If it's not in your scope of service, then we have to reach out to you and confirm those things. So that scope of service really helps us. It's our guideline for what you do and don't approve for your funds for your agency. So if just take a look at that, and if that's something you need to update, I'd encourage y'all to do that for the following fiscal year. That helps us out a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone have any questions on that? Or okay. All the timesheets that we send out during the fiscal year have an end of September date on that, and that's no matter what time you have put the caregiver on during the fiscal year. And we have to do a hard closeout on the 30th of September because we're obviously ending the fiscal year and all the billing has to go out very quickly. So any timesheets that come after that date, whether the person will be staying on the program because they're rollover or ending, we cannot reimburse on those timesheets. So I generally forward them depending on who's, if it's Lana's area and it's, it was her person, then I'll be, I would be forwarding it to Lana to, follow up with the caregiver to let them know that. And we do try, and I know you all do try and remind caregivers of the end date, and we do that. Try and anybody who emails or calls, we remind them of that end date as well, and we put an extra sticker on the timesheets that go out leading up to that time to say it must be back by that date for us to be able to process it. And then the final billing is sent after we, have done all of that. So anybody who's going to cross over the fiscal year, we can only accept new referrals for the crossover people once all of the billing has been sent and looked at, so that we have the, so that you and us will have the correct amounts that caregiver has remaining. That makes that, a lot easier for the referral process. New referrals for the new funding year of 26 will be accepted after the 1st of October. So that's for any new individuals going on the program, anytime after the 1st, you can send those referrals to me. And we ask that those are sent, you can send them, a whole group of them in one email, but they need to be saved individually and ideally saved in the caregiver's name, because then it just makes it much easier for me to save it and to be able to find it if there's any queries with regard to the referral. Basically, as I'm just going to run through this because we've got some, like Lauren, is new to the program, but basically once I receive that referral, I'm going to be sending out paperwork to that caregiver that includes our welcome pack and a timesheet for that caregiver. And the welcome pack explains how the program works, but obviously I'm always happy to talk through it in detail with the caregivers, and usually ask when you're in contact with your caregivers or putting new people on, to give us at least a week or two for that paperwork to go out, because I try and get the paperwork out to caregivers as quickly as possible, but depending on the workload and what time of year it is, I generally try and get it out within a couple of days of receiving a referral, but there are times when it's going to be a little bit longer, or if I'm on leave or anything like that. So, if they call, 3 days after you've put them on the program and they haven't received the paperwork, it may already be in the mail and it's just going to take a while, or I might not have actually got that paperwork out. So I generally would say at least, a week or 2 weeks really, if they haven't heard then, to follow up. But like I say, we try and do it as quickly as we can. And we've already said about those that are crossing over the fiscal year to wait until all the billing's done. And then the caregiver will be issued a new timesheet. So, whatever they had left, they need to wait for that new timesheet to then be able to send that in. But we do say that obviously they can, make a note still of dates that they've been using and things like that, and then just add that to the new timesheet. and all timesheets have to be, fully completed by them. And they need to sign it and have their respite providers sign it too. And that kind of covers, most of that. I would just say about the rollover funds, if they've only got like a week or two left of those rollover funds, and then we receive a referral and then you're going to add new funds, that can sometimes be quite confusing for the caregivers and for us. So it's great to have those rollover fund referrals, just as soon as you're able to do it after the billing and everything, so that they've got time to use whatever they have, remaining. And I think that covers most of that. Are there any questions from anybody on any of those points? No.
No?
And any other questions with regard to, any time of year or whatever we're doing that, things that might help you or not sure about or anything really.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to pull this up while y'all are thinking of some questions. I just wanted to show y'all we will be sending out a new referral form also. We do ask that everyone use the updated referral form. This one gives us a bit more information than past ones. So you're able to say, is this a new referral? Is this a referral for additional funds? Or is this rollover from last fiscal year to the new fiscal year? And then when you put today's date on it, that kind of helps us keep track of how long it's taken us, to process and get things out. And the rest of the information is the same on the form. So really just that top part is updated. And if you use the fillable form, that helps us too. We can just copy and paste information into the database to create that or update that information for your caregivers. So this will be going out as well as with reminders about the um, contracts for the new fiscal year and all of the dates that we've mentioned for closing out fiscal year 25 and starting fiscal year 26. So you don't have any questions about the form or contracts or anything else we can help y'all with?
Hey, Carolyn,
Mhm.
I know you've already talked about it, and I know that August 1st is the deadline for new referrals, and the close out September 30th. If someone sends in, like that's already on it, and they send in a timesheet, and you get it like September 28th, will it get paid on the, I
Yeah,
mean, it just, it can't
anything.
have any after September 30th.
Yeah, we do them all up until and on that day. So
Yeah, because we've had that problem with my people before, wanting to send it after October 1st, and we couldn't do it because it's on the old form and all that stuff. So,
mhm,
okay. All
yeah,
right,
so
thanks.
anything up until that date, and then after that, they
After
they
that
would
new
need to,
form.
yeah, they would need to complete a new form. I mean, generally, I try and be, we try and be as flexible and as helpful as possible. So, if they have already written out all the dates, and they complete a front page of the new form, we can, do that. But basically, we can't pay any others. And for those that do actually finish their fiscal year at the end of September, obviously those funds can't be paid at all.
Yeah, what I have trouble with is people doing a timesheet in September for September time and then sending it in October. That was my
Right.
problem with people.
Yeah. And we just can't, we have to do that hard closeout.
Yeah, and starting pretty soon, when we see they're probably going to be using, they have their last time sheet coming out, we put big stickers on the envelope, big red letters that say this has to be in by,
Right.
that September
Yeah.
date.
And we actually put, the 25th is
Mhm.
actually the date we have on all the timesheets, even though the closeout is the 30th, to give them a little bit of, leeway. And we hate it. I hate it when the late timesheets come in. It's one of the things I hate the most. Just because, it's so hard. We want to be able to pay it, but it's the end of a fiscal year and we just
Right.
can't do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's my
Thank you.
favorite time of year.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, any other questions or comments, or is there anything we can do to help y'all with this process? Nope, y'all are quiet bunch today.
Well, Carolyn always, when I have a big problem, she always helps me figure it out. So
Carolyn's great.
she
She is
is.
great. Yeah. All right. Well, if y'all don't have any questions, we will bless and release y'all and let y'all go on about your work day. And we appreciate y'all so much for jumping on today and going over this with us. And again, if you think of something later, feel free to reach out. You know, Carolyn's always there to help, and I am too. And like I said, I'll be sending out this new referral form and reminders about all of the upcoming dates. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks for everything, everybody. Good to see you.
You
Bye.
good to see y'all. Bye.
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 Bye.